The bell above the diner door chimed softly as the man stepped inside. And for reasons she couldn't explain, Lily Harper looked up from wiping a table and felt the air change, the way it does right before a storm breaks. He didn't look like a billionaire, not at first glance. No flashy watch, no bodyguard, no arrogance in his walk. Just a tailored charcoal coat, slightly worn at the cuffs, and eyes that carried a weight money couldn't erase. He chose the corner booth by the window, the one people avoided because the heater never worked properly. And when Lily approached with her tired smile and her practiced kindness, he looked up at her like he was seeing someone from a life he'd once lived and lost. "Coffee, please," he said, voice calm, polite, distant. Lily nodded, already calculating in her head how many tables she needed to serve tonight to cover rent, daycare, and the inhaler, her 6-year-old son. Matteo needed to sleep without coughing through the night. The diner was short-staffed again, and her feet burned inside shoes she couldn't afford to replace. But she moved quickly, refilling mugs, clearing plates, smiling even when customers snapped their fingers at her like she was invisible. When she brought the coffee back, the man thanked her sincerely, which surprised her more than it should have. Most men barely looked at her anymore, not since exhaustion had replaced youth in her eyes, but this one noticed everything, from the loose button on her uniform to the faded crayon drawing peeking from her apron pocket. He ordered simply eggs, toast, no substitutions. As he ate, Lily noticed he barely touched his phone, just stared out the window at the rain streaking down the glass. His reflection fractured like a man divided against himself. Time passed. The dinner rush came and went. Tips were thin tonight. One man left her 40 cents. Another left nothing at all. Lily swallowed her disappointment the way she always did, reminding herself that Matteo's smile in the morning was worth every humiliation she endured in silence. When the man finally stood to leave, he placed cash neatly on the table, nodded once, and walked out into the rain without another word. Lily approached the booth, her heart sinking before she even reached it. 0 tip, not a single extra dollar, just enough to cover the meal. Her chest tightened, not in anger, but in the quiet panic of someone who knows they've come up short again. She stared at the empty booth, feeling foolish for expecting kindness, for believing that the gentle look in his eyes meant something more. She began clearing the plates when something caught her attention, something heavy beneath the dish, making it scrape softly against the table. Confused, Lily lifted the plate and froze. There, taped carefully to the underside, was an envelope. Her name was written on it in neat, deliberate handwriting. Lily Harper. Her breath caught. No one ever wrote her name unless it was on a bill or a warning notice. Her hands trembled as she peeled the tape away and opened the envelope. Inside was not cash, not immediately. It was a folded letter, thick, deliberate, and beneath it, a small key attached to a silver tag. Her knees weakened, and she sat down hard in the booth, heart pounding so loudly she barely heard the cook calling her name from the kitchen. The letter began simply, "You reminded me of someone I failed once." Lily's vision blurred as she read on, the words unraveling a story of a man who had grown up poor, who had watched his own mother work herself into sickness-waiting tables just like this, who had once promised to save her and arrived too late. He wrote of guilt that never faded, of wealth that never healed it, of a life spent wondering if redemption was still possible. "Tonight," the letter continued, "I saw the same quiet strength in you, the same exhaustion disguised as kindness. I didn't leave a tip because I wanted you to look closer. Because sometimes the most important gifts are hidden where only the desperate will search." Lily's hands shook as she unfolded the final page. "The key is to a safety deposit box in your name. It contains what you need, not just money, but proof. Proof that your life can change starting tonight. Use it wisely. And if you ever doubt your worth, remember this. Someone noticed." Tears streamed down her face, splashing onto the letter as the weight of her reality collided with the possibility of something more. Around her, the diner buzzed on, unaware that in a forgotten booth beneath a chipped plate, a single mother's life had just split into before and after. Lily clutched the key to her chest, fear and hope battling inside her, knowing that whatever awaited her inside that box would either save her or demand more courage than she'd ever had before. And somewhere in the rain-soaked night, the man she would later learn was one of the richest individuals in the country disappeared, leaving behind not a tip, but a question that would change everything. What would she do when the world finally gave back? Lily did not sleep that night. Not really, because every time she closed her eyes, she felt the cool weight of the silver key against her palm and heard again the quiet finality of the billionaire's words echoing in her mind. Someone noticed, and she lay awake on the narrow couch of her small apartment, listening to Mateo's breathing rise and fall from the bedroom, steady for once because the inhaler had worked. And she wondered if this fragile moment of peace was what the man had meant when he wrote that the most important gifts were hidden where only the desperate would search. Because desperation had taught her to doubt miracles, even when they knocked gently instead of crashing through the door. At dawn she dressed Mateo for school with hands that trembled, kissed his forehead longer than usual, and told him she loved him more than all the stars. And when he asked why she looked like she might cry, she smiled and said she was just tired, the way mothers always did when the truth was too heavy for a child to carry. And after she dropped him off, she stood in the parking lot, staring at the city waking up, knowing that by nightfall nothing might be the same.